Good morning. I'm Rick Gibson with AARP Fraud Watch, and I have with me this morning a special guest, Mr. Jeff Abramo. Jeff is a fraud prevention specialist for AARP. His primary role within the fraud prevention team is that of communications advisor, helping to strategize, develop, and distribute fraud-related content via a range of national channels, as well as to provide state offices with state-adapted content for local promotion. Jeff has worked for AARP since 2011, previously in the position of Associate State Director for Communications for the AARP New Jersey State Office. Good morning, Jeff, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Hey, Rick, good morning to you as well. Thanks for having me. This is a crazy
You
time of
bet.
year. A lot to talk about.
You're great. And I think we've come together to kind of focus on holiday scams, which is a very pertinent situation right now. Holiday
Absolutely.
scams are one of the primary kinds of frauds that we all face. And AARP has done some research on what kinds of scams, what kinds of things happen to people. And we're going to talk a little about that research as well. But let's start out, let's just jump right in and say, what would you judge to be some of the most prevalent holiday scams that are going on right now?
Yeah, well, thanks, Rick. That's a great question. I think, we like to think of the holidays as being a season for giving, but unfortunately, when it comes to dealing with scammers, they think that the holidays are a time for taking from you, me, and all of our hard-earned money. I think that some of the scams that really we're seeing emerge this holiday season, a lot of them are things we've seen in the past. Some of them are a little bit different. Online shopping scams, I mean, those are huge. Scammers know that a lot of us continue to be shopping online even more than ever as a result of the pandemic and just the convenience of shopping online. So they want to get in on that action. So they'll do things like they'll create fake links that they'll advertise using Google. They'll put them into social media. They'll email them around to us. They'll send them by text. You'll click them. You'll get to a page that will look like an authentic retailer. It might look like a familiar retailer. They might even use logos that are similar to a real retailer, but it turns out it's not the real retailer's page, right? So they want you to click in there. You'll give them money for an item that looks like a great deal, and you either won't get the item or you'll get a really bad version of the item, and they have your money either way. So that's a big thing that we're seeing a lot of right now. Gift card scams where you'll have scammers actually go into retailer stores. They'll get a bunch of gift cards, and they'll put sort of a fake number on the back of it. They'll manipulate the card so that way when you buy the card, they know they're able to detect exactly when you buy it, and they're able to drain the money from it before you actually get to use it or give to anybody. Other scams, package delivery scams. This is one I've seen a lot of this year, where you'll receive a text that says, "Hey, your package is out for delivery," and it'll look like it comes from FedEx or UPS or the Postal Service. And in your mind, you're thinking, "Oh, I don't have a package coming. What is this?" You'll click the link. They'll ask for some information to verify your identity. The next thing you know, they have your identity. They may have your money because they needed more money to deliver it. And at the end of the day, there's no package for you. So this is just a sampling of the scams we're seeing a lot of, but there's a lot more. We can go all day.
Unfortunately, that is a sample of what's going on right now, even as we speak. The holiday period is a time when most of us think of pleasant things and happy times and family and exchanging gifts, etc. And I think maybe talking about fraud and talking about scams makes some people a little uncomfortable. But but I think it really has to be done
Mm-hmm.
because we need to let people know that there are dishonest people in the world, that there are people who are not thinking of happy times and family. There are people who are
Yeah.
thinking of how to get your money. Um, uh, Now that you told us some of the things about some of the really popular scams, maybe you might go into some ways that we could protect ourselves from these scams. ways that we might prevent these scams from happening to us personally.
Yeah, so I mean, I could speak about that. So, like online shopping scams, for example. What's really important is that if you're going to go shopping online, you're going to want to make sure that you navigate directly to a trusted retailer's website. I'm sorry, I had a phone call. Trusted retailer's website directly, whether it be Amazon, Walmart, Target, some other retailer. You're going to go ahead and type that URL directly into the address bar that you're trying to navigate to. Don't click a link from an email that you get. Don't click a link from a text that you get, because sometimes, even though what looks like a real link, if you hover over it, you might see it actually takes you somewhere else. And so that's a little bit dangerous, right? So that's one of the keys I would say about online shopping scams. Just be very careful where you're navigating. If the price that you're seeing advertised looks far cheaper than anywhere else online, if it looks too good to be true, so to speak, big red flag. I would be very cautious about buying from that site in that instance, because it's very unusual for a retailer to try to lose money relative to the competition. So again, that's another very big red flag. And lastly, if it's a company you've never heard of before, even if the numbers seem to be reasonable, again, just be cautious. It's always better this time of year to use a trusted, known retailer that you go to their site directly than to take a chance on a company that may be brand new or just is unfamiliar to you. Again, that doesn't mean they're all bad, but that is a red flag and something that should definitely give you pause. I could touch also on the package delivery scams. I think that if you get a notification that says you have a package coming, first and foremost, if you're not expecting a package, if you haven't ordered anything, major red flag. Never click the link that is within that message, whether it's an email or a text. Don't do it. If it says it's from FedEx, look up online the phone number for FedEx. Go to Google, type in FedEx, get their actual direct contact information, and call them. Even if it means waiting on hold for a while, because I'm sure they're very busy this season. Call them directly, explain who you are, give your information, and find out if there's actually a package coming to you. Almost assuredly they'll tell you no, and you'll know this is fake. Again, whether it's USPS, FedEx, UPS, whatever, do it that way. Don't click the link, because that will inevitably take you to a scammer third-party website. You don't want to go that way. So, I mean, those are a couple key tips, but I definitely recommend visiting our holiday scam site on our fraud resource center page, and I can give you that. It's aarp.org/FRC. Once you get there, click holiday scams, and there's a ton of good tips and information about how to stay safe from these types of scams.
There certainly is, and I use that very site often to get
It's a great site.
untold amounts of information. One of the things about calling the company, you mentioned calling FedEx or UPS or whatever, is not only to find out if they're the authentic provider of that message, but it's also to report to them that this is going on. I mean, the companies don't want to be frauded, and when you inform them of the times that they are being frauded, they may not be able to stop it, they may not be able to prevent it, but they can know that it's going on and where it's going on and what's happening. It just sort of keeps them informed. I think that's an important thing. One of the things that I try to tell the people of Kansas and Missouri about is if you can, don't shop with a debit card, shop with a credit card instead. Can you give me some reasons for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the most important reasons is that credit cards tend to come with a much bigger forgiveness temporarily if there's a charge that you shouldn't have on there. So if a scammer gets a hold of a credit card and they place a large charge on there that isn't yours, the credit card company will usually put that into a pending. They won't actually put it into your balance, and they'll investigate it, and they'll figure out if it's a legit or not, and they'll take care of you. There's a lot more insurance for that. Whereas a debit card, if there's an amount of money that comes out of your debit card that you did not spend, the bank will investigate it, but during that entire period of time, that money is unavailable to you. Secondarily, the the banking system has insurance to a certain amount of money. You're only liable for a much lower amount of money on a credit card purchase, whereas I believe that number, and I don't have it committed to memory, is much higher on a debit card or through a bank. So use credit cards. And lastly, if somebody gets a hold of a credit card number, you can always cancel it and get a new number, and really has very little impact on your account. Whereas if it's a bank debit card number, there could be a lot more implications. Your money could be taken out, and it's a lot harder to get that back. It often can, but it takes time.
Yeah. And I can give you an example of what you're talking about. And it happened to me personally. And I'm not really too embarrassed about that, because the research that AARP has done has said that some 75% of American people have been at least tempted by a scam. Someone has tried to uh, enact a scam upon them. And I had an occasion where, without my knowing it at all, someone tried to charge $250 to a gas card that I have. And fortunately, my credit card company was a little suspicious of $250 in gas. So they called me and they asked me if I made that purchase. And I told them no, I hadn't. And so we got it straightened out. It wasn't mine. It wasn't charged to my account. But they did pursue it, and they finally caught up with the guy, and they called me and said, "Do you know someone who uses the email bigmama@yahoo.com?" And I said, "No, don't know any Big Mama at Yahoo." And they said, "Well, we've caught him, we've cornered him, things are taken care of, and we're glad that we were able to save you from this scam." So I was very happy about the pro-action of my credit card company to do everything they could to prevent scams. Maybe working together with the credit card companies, we can prevent some of these billions of dollars worth of scams that are going on.
Yeah.
I mentioned that 75% of the US adults have been targeted or experienced some kind of fraud, or maybe they caught it, maybe they didn't, but they have been at least tempted by that. Uh, what are some other figures that you know off the top of your head about people who have been attempted fraud, or that have happened in the area of fraud or the area of scams? Do you have any figures on that sort of thing, just that you recall immediately?
Well, the one thing regarding the 75% figure, even that I just would want to touch upon, is that that's based on the numbers of people who have either reported falling victim to a scam, or at the very least are aware that somebody targeted them. The thing that's important to understand is that scammers are both evolving in real time. They're constantly changing the way that they target people. They're using tactics that are different from year to year. So, for example, text-based, text message-based scams, which we refer to as smishing. I didn't make up the word. That actually, the FTC this year reported outnumbered phone call-based scams for the first time. So the thing about the numbers that I want to emphasize is that a lot of times people see these and might not click them, but may not realize that in fact they have been targeted. They might think it's a mistake. They may just delete it, and they may not put two and two together to say they've been targeted. So from where I sit, in my perspective, I think that 75% number is probably significantly low. I think that I would go so far as to say virtually everyone has, at least at one time or another, received a phone call about an extended warranty that they may need for their car, received a text about a delivery or an order they may have purchased that we need to verify, something. So I think that number is probably low, or even an email that says, "Hey, you have won a big chunk of money," or "You're the heir to an estate in some random country." We all get those emails. So I say those numbers are low.
Yeah, I would guess that you're probably right about that. I have one more question, and that is with the proliferation of ways that we transfer cash or purchase things or whatever, we have new software programs like Venmo and Zelle and Cash App and that sort of thing. Are those things safe? Are those things that we should be using?
Yeah, that's a great question. So here's the thing with programs like software like Venmo, Cash App, things like that. Those are specifically designed to be used for one person to transfer money to another person that they know, that's in their family, that's a close friend, that's someone they do business with a lot, like in a community, store that they know personally. If you're going to do that, it's fine because you know the person. Um, they're not intended, nor should they be used to make payments to people you don't know, make payments for things you see online, make payments for people you've just experienced a very brief communication with, because they're not particularly safe in that sense. If you send money to somebody and you don't get what you bargained for, what you expect, there's very little recourse that you can have. PayPal's a little bit different. PayPal does come with some additional protections, so it is a little bit safer to conduct business using PayPal. But again, it should only be for a trusted business, somebody that you've worked with before, somebody that you are confident, not a first-time user just randomly sending them money. That is not really how you should use any of these services.
Great advice. Great advice. Oh, I think we could go on forever with
Yeah.
this. Like it is endless that all of the frauds seem to, I call it follow the news. They
Hmm.
seem to always be whatever the most current thing is that's happening. There's a lot of fraud surrounding that. Probably the best advice we could give people in Kansas, Missouri, and across the nation is be aware, be awake,
Yeah.
always be observant, be careful. And we have a saying in Fraud Watch is if you can spot a scam, you can stop a scam. And we like to make people better able to spot a scam. And you've really done a lot for that this morning. And we really do appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you so much for being on with us. And thank all of you for watching us on Fraud Watch Friday. And we'll see you the third Friday of next month. Bye bye.